In this video, we're going to be talking about how to use dictionaries in Python. Let's get on with it. So a dictionary is a data structure that's a bit like a list, but instead of containing items separated by commas, it contains key value pairs separated by commas. Let me show you what I mean. The structure looks like this. A dictionary is contained within braces, not square brackets, which we use for a list. Within those braces, we have key value pairs, which are separated by commas. And in programming terms, this is what's known as an associative list, because the key and the value are associated with each other. So let's have a look at an actual example. Let's say that I wanted to store the diameters of planets. So let's create a dictionary using those braces. Now the first key that I'm going to create is Earth, and the value that I'm going to associate with it is 12,742 kilometers, comma. The next key that I'm going to put in is Venus. I'm not going to do all the planets, just a few. As an example, this one's going to be 12,104. Yes, I had to look up these values. I'm not a planet expert. Let's do another one. Uranus. This one is 50,724, and we'll do one more. Let's have Pluto. Teeny tiny 2,377. So there is a correctly formed dictionary. But you can also format a dictionary over multiple lines, which is particularly useful if the dictionary contains a lot of key value pairs. So let's say that we wanted to store information about a user. This time, inside the braces, I'm going to hit return. And now I'm going to go ahead and start putting in my key value pairs on separate lines. So let's have the key username. And the username will be dsmith1, comma. So that's that key value pair. Next line, let's store password, colon. And for the password, we'll just have a string of different letters, numbers, characters, special symbols, etc. A nice strong password. Then we'll store the user's first name, which is going to be David, comma. Let's store the last name, which is going to be Smith. So far they've all been strings, so let's go ahead and put in an integer as well, age 15. And a couple more. Let's go for email. Final one, let's say that in their account they have to confirm their email address, and we'll use a Boolean value for this. So their email is confirmed. Notice no comma on the end, because that is the final key value pair in our dictionary. So there we go, two correctly formed dictionaries. It's really up to you which method you use, but as I said, splitting it over multiple lines is definitely helpful for larger dictionaries. It just makes it easier to read the values. So now that we've got a couple of dictionaries, let's have a look at some of the stuff that we can do with these dictionaries. Well, let's say that you want to access the values within your dictionary. So I want to print out the diameter of the Earth. Well, to do that, I put the name of the dictionary, and then I use square brackets, much like we do when we're accessing items within a list. But we're not going to put in an index. If this was a list, diameter 0 would simply print the first item in the list. But that doesn't work with dictionaries. Dictionaries don't actually have any inherent order. So even though I've put Earth first up here, followed by Venus, followed by Uranus, that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be stored and stay in that order. So in fact, diameter 0 makes no sense whatsoever. Instead, what we need to do is look up a particular key. So if I put diameters and then Earth, that's going to look up Earth in the dictionary and get the value 12,742. I need to do something with that value, otherwise it's just going to be lost. So I could, for example, store it in a variable, or I could just go ahead and print it directly. So now when I run this, it looks up Earth and it prints out 12,742. And of course we could also do that with user 1. Let's go ahead and look up their age. It prints out 15. So looking up values in a dictionary is really, really simple. Now let's have a look at how we can add and change values within a dictionary. So I'm going to go ahead and add the diameter of Jupiter. Start by putting the name of the variable in square brackets, Jupiter, equals 139,820. So now let's go ahead and print diameters, just so we can see that Jupiter has been added. Now, because Jupiter wasn't already in the dictionary, putting diameters Jupiter equals 139,820 added it to the dictionary. But if you do exactly the same thing, using a key that already exists, that will allow you to overwrite that value. So let's say that we want to change the user's password to something else. Let's go ahead and print user1. And we can see that it's now been updated to that new value. So we use exactly the same method to add new key value pairs or to update an existing value for a key that's already in a dictionary. Let's have a look at how to delete an item from a dictionary. So my diameters dictionary currently has Pluto in there. Well, Pluto is no longer classified as a planet, it's a dwarf planet, so let's delete that from diameters. Name of the variable, dot, and then we use the method pop. And in brackets, you simply put the key of the item that you want to delete. So I'm going to delete Pluto. Let's go ahead and print diameters. And there we go, we can clearly see that Pluto has now been deleted from the dictionary. Now, something else that we can do is search dictionaries. Let's look for the planet Mars in that dictionary. So I can simply say, if Mars is in diameters, so it's going to look in that dictionary, and if Mars is in there, then let's go ahead and print diameters Mars. So if Mars is in there, print out the diameter of Mars. Else, meaning it looked in the dictionary and Mars was not in there, let's print a message to the user saying something like not found. So of course when I run it, it says not found because Mars is not in there. But if I change this to a value that I know is in there, such as Venus, and run it again, this time it finds Venus and it prints out the diameter. Let's have a look at another example. Let's say that I want to loop through all of those planets, and I want to print out any planet that has a larger diameter than Earth. So we can create a for loop like this. We can say for planet in diameters, if, and now I'm going to do just what I did before, so name of the dictionary, and then the key that I'm looking up. So by putting planet in there, remember in this for loop, that variable planet is going to be Earth, Venus, Uranus, Pluto, not necessarily in that order, but this for loop will go through every single key in the dictionary. So if diameters planet is more than diameters, and we'll look up the diameter of the Earth, then what we want to do is print the planet. So this should print out all of the keys, so the names of the planets, where the associated diameter is more than the diameter of the Earth. Let's see if it works. And it correctly prints out Uranus, because that's the only one that is more than 12,742. The last thing I want to talk about is how we can build up a dictionary starting from an empty dictionary. So let's say that we want to create a second user. What I'm going to do is just create a blank empty dictionary. And now I can start filling up that dictionary with input from the user. So let's start with user2 username equals, and I'm going to use the input function to ask the user to choose a username. Let's just expand this a little bit. So this will be asking the user for a username. They type in their username, and that username will then be stored in user2 associated with the key username. And now I'll fast forward to repeat that process for all of the other keys. There we go. So now the user can enter all of the information we need, but email confirmed, I've set that to be false. Let's go ahead and print user2. And when I run this, it will ask me to enter all of this information and then print the dictionary to prove that it's worked. Choose a username. J Baker. Choose a password. Enter your first name, John. Enter your last name, Baker. Enter your age, 18. Enter your email address, jbaker@mail.com. And there we go, we can see that all of that information has been added to the dictionary. Now you understand a bit more about how to use dictionaries in Python. See you next time.